Good afternoon or good morning. My name is Miriam Aliso. I'm from RACE, and I am welcome you to this webinar, Smart Home Technology Leading to Independence. I'm also walk you through how to interact with the Zoom features. You go to the next one. Yeah. So please, for questions and answers, please use the Q&A feature to ask questions to the presenters and use the chat box if you have any technical issues to communicate with us. Para acceder al canal en español, van a ver en la banda o cinta negra un globo que indica interpretation, interpretación. Hagan clic allí, luego seleccionan español y opriman donde dice mute original audio. Esto último filtra completamente la señal en inglés para que puedan escuchar con claridad a nuestro intérprete Guillermo Cordero. For American Sign Language, we have our interpreter pinned here, but you can just go to Dina Hazen and pin over there. You click on the three dots over there, and that's how you can pin it yourself. But we already have it. Have a Dina pin for you. So next slide. The floor is yours, Josie, on the presenters.
Apologies, after 2 years in COVID, I'm still looking for the mute buttons. Welcome everyone. It is so great to have you joining us. My name's Josie Badger. I'm the director of the RAISE Center. And today we're talking about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, smart home technology. This is an issue that I believe is more important than ever as we're moving into a society where we can learn and work from home in many different environments and job requirements. But this is also a topic that's becoming more importantly focused on transition. So we'll be exploring that with you as well. And so I'd like to turn it over to Susan Takao, who is a great friend of mine and who has been working in assistive technology for a long time. So Susan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Josie. Again, as we go through this presentation, please put your questions in the Q&A because my colleague Karen is going to be reading them to make sure that we don't skip over. I hope this front slide is enticing you about smart home. My name, as Josie mentioned, is Susan Takao, and I was the Chief Executive Officer of Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation. I am now the Innovation Officer, and PATF created a wonderful resource around smart home, and we're delighted to share that with you today. You'll see on this slide Michael, who is the man in the bottom picture with the yellow shirt. And Michael is my son. And that is what brought me to kind of understanding the power of assistive technology, and in particular, smart home technology. In addition to hearing from me, you're also going to be hearing from Alexa Brill. Alexa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Alexa Brill from Pennsylvania, and I also work for the RCPA and the social media community, as well as South African United West as the president of the board.
Thank you. And Alexa's going to tell her story. And I just want to make sure everyone understands that both Michael and Alexa were fully included in schools. And so kind of understand what some of you were trying to do is provide resources for parents and technical assistance to help people who are transition age. And Alexa works for the ARC of Pennsylvania, and then she is president of the board of Self Advocates United as one. Karen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Susan. excuse me, I'm Karen Hassett, and I am the Financial Education Director at PATF. And Susan is the person who brought me to PATF. We both share a passion that financial education is important, it's necessary, and it should be available and accessible to everyone. So I'm very excited to participate in this, and you'll see me in future webinars. So Susan, I think, take it away.
Sounds great. Okay, next slide, please. So before we get started, I want to introduce Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation, PATF. We are a statewide nonprofit organization that's based right outside Philadelphia. The majority of our board and staff are individuals with disabilities or immediate family members. And we are in that way similar to Centers for Independent Living, where the majority of their board members and staff are individuals with disabilities. What makes us unique are the next 2 bullet points. One is that we are a community development financial institution, a CDFI. We do consumer lending. And throughout the United States, there's really only a handful of us who are focused on the disability community. And in Pennsylvania, we're the only ones. And then we're also Pennsylvania's alternative financing program, as it is defined in the brand new 21st Century Assistive Technology Act. And if you go to our website, patf.us, and like, who are we? You can see a listing of all of the alternative financing programs. There are approximately 42 in the country. So whether you're from Minnesota, or which their program is sleeping right now, but Wisconsin has a great program, Washington, Oregon, Puerto Rico, Florida, you can get the listing of the contact information. Today's program is very important for a number of reasons, including, as Josie kind of mentioned, trying to, be current and offer you helpful advice. The 21st Century Assistive Technology Act was reauthorized in December. And if it's difficult to kind of find it. It was reauthorized within the Department of Defense budget. But there is a new emphasis within that act that is placed on transition age youth. And so right in the very beginning of the new act, where it talks about the purposes, it says under B, increase the ability of individuals with disabilities to secure and maintain possession of assistive technology devices as such individuals make the transition between services offered by educational or human service agencies and in between settings of daily living. So I thank Josie for this opportunity to present today and help all of you. Next, please. We at PATF do 3 things, as do all the other alternative financing programs. We talk about information and assistance about assistive technology funding resources and vendors. We provide financial loans for assistive technology, which we will talk about at the end, and we provide financial education. We will be presenting, and Karen will be taking the lead on this, about financial education in the next couple of months, one next month and one, I believe, in June, or maybe it's March and June. Next, please. So what exactly is smart home technology and how did we get into it? We are very interested in smart home because it falls under that umbrella as assistive technology. And we received a grant from the Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council to try to get the word out about smart home. So often people with disabilities and their families lag behind others in accessing technology. And so we're focused on mainstream off-the-shelf technology, and we think it could be beneficial for you. In this picture, you see 2 people. The little girl Penny on the left is using her iPad to access both communication, but communication to smart home. And the young man on the right, he is looking at a camera at his front door so that he knows who is at his front door and whether he can safely let them in. Next, please. For many of you, you know what assistive technology is, but I want to make sure that we're leveling and making sure everybody understands that assistive technology, there's a good federal definition, but essentially it's any device or service that can help a person with a disability do the things they want to do. In this array of photos, 6 photos, you'll see assistive technology from being a hearing aid to hand controls in driving a vehicle, to being able to access a smart home, to recreation and sports, rowing and having a specially adapted shell, using wearable assistive technology, smart home technology, and finally having a smart display helping these young people learn how to cook and see a recipe. Next, please. And of course, assistive technology devices also, you need to have services. And in the federal definition, they are folded together. And it's certainly in school, in vocational rehabilitation, in our waivers, it is understood that services are necessary in order to optimize using assistive technology. So it includes evaluation and assessment, the selection and procurement, designing, installation and setup, training, and repair. And in these 2 pictures, you will see on the left-hand side a man teaching a woman who's an occupational therapist how to use a 3D printer. And on the right-hand side, there's a woman who's an occupational therapist showing a young man who has autism how to set up and use his smart home devices. Next, please. There are lots of resources to help you learn in different ways what exactly smart home devices are. One of our partners just received a grant a year ago from the Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services about wireless technology. And I would recommend that you go to their website and kind of join them so that you too can get kind of updates. It's at the University of Pittsburgh, the Rehabilitation Engineering Research Center on Wireless Technologies for People with Disabilities. And on the right-hand side of this slide, you will see a video that they've made called Smart Home Tech and Disabilities series. And actually, I think this is the first of their series, where they kind of explain what is smart home, and in kind of in graphics, lead you through a home of how it can be useful. Their materials are accessible and you can use them on a smartphone and an iPad, a tablet, and all of that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend that. They have a brand new series. Lindsay is one of the investigators, and she's an occupational therapist, and she is going to take questions and answers and post answers. So if you have a question about smart home, I would invite you to go on to the University of Pittsburgh site and sign up, because you will see that Lindsay is going to be very available to all of us. Next, please. And this is what we have created, PATF. So we have created a couple of resources, and the overarching name is called Smart Homes Made Simple, Your Guide to Smart Home Technology. It includes a self-assessment tool, how to, what your team should look like that People are not expected to kind of do this by themselves of figuring it out and how to set it up, but who might be important members of your team. A description of how smart home devices work, like what do you need, how to choose your smart home technology, how to set it up, how to maintain it, and troubleshooting, because you will need to do that. And again, talking about security and privacy. And those issues have been coming up more and more. So we have written information in our book about this, and I'll talk about our blogs later. You can download a copy of our Smart Homes Made Simple guide. It is fully accessible. It's in English and in Spanish. And the links, if you want to just get it, if you download it or just look on our website, you'll see the links are live. And we also have a companion website, which I'll talk about in a second, called smarthomesmadesimple.org. Both of these are resources that we work with together. What's wonderful about a website is you can update it all the time. Next, please. So this is our Smart Homes Made Simple self-assessment. And the goal of the self-assessment is to get you to think about what are you trying to do, rather than, get curious about my neighbor or my friend has a smart speaker. That's what I want. You're trying to first focus on what are you trying to do, and then where do you want to do this, like in your bedroom or your living room, or your front door. And this self-assessment tool will help guide you in figuring out which is the most appropriate technology for you. You will note in this self-assessment tool that we touch on remote supports. And we touch on this both in our website as well as this book. Remote supports, which is becoming increasingly popular in Pennsylvania, and I know in many other states, is two-way communication using smart home technology. So say you're home and by yourself, and you really don't want attendant care. You don't really need attendant care, but you want the security that if in fact you fall, someone will be able to help you. Or say you want job coaching and you don't need it all the time, but you want to be able to have access to someone. That's two-way communication. We recommend that you make sure that the end user, the person with the disability, has fully consented to having remote supports. So job coaching isn't necessarily a good example of remote supports. It is a good example of two-way communication. Remote supports would be cameras, sensors on doors and windows. And just know that we're talking about ensuring that the end user is aware and agrees to having these types of smart home devices in their home. Next, please. This is what our smarthomesmadesimple.org website looks like. Again, it is fully accessible. You can get it on your computer, your tablet, your smartphone. I get excited about it because we can add new information very easily. So we have blogs on there, a couple of articles about security and privacy, and we have examples of where smart home technology might rest within your home and where there are examples. Both the book and the website have stories of end users. You will hear from Alexa today. Alexa and Michael are two of our 6 or 7 stories of why they're important to them and how they can improve them. Again, what also is helpful with both the book and the website is that some of the forms are fillable out so that if you're working with somebody and you're trying to figure out your goals, or like, are you using smart homes, like a smart speaker to hear the weather, to read audible books to you, to be able to communicate and make phone calls? You can check that off, you can download it, and you can keep a record of it. Anyway, please feel free to go on our website and send us feedback if there are things that we've missed or new things you would like to get, and we will do our level best to do that. We also have other resources on there so that we know we're not the only ones that are focused on smart home, although we are the only ones that are really focused on smart home for people with disabilities and their families. I am seeing a question in the chat about will these resources be emailed to you? Yes, this deck will be available to you. If it's not already sent out, it'll be sent out immediately after this presentation.
Susan,
Yes.
before you go on, yes, I think the question in the chat, this is Karen, a question in the chat was, can we email them? And Rena, we have your email address, and we can definitely do that as well if you can't access our website. The other question is, and I think this is a good time to ask, is there a smart home device that can open and close a door?
And the answer to that is, it kind of depends on what you mean by open and close, but yes. So there are smart locks and smart bolts so that a person can control who enters and leaves their home, but enters their home. And then there are other types of technology that helps open up a door. So the answer to that is yes, there are smart door locks, smart bolts. And if you go on to both our book and our website, talk a little bit, I think our website might be a little bit better at giving you examples and links to where you might find this. My personal favorite, and I'm saying this as someone who is not as techie as you might imagine I am, I happen to like Wirecutter from the New York Times. They are listed on our website as one of the resources, just like PC and several others. But if you ask them a question or look under smart door locks, smart bolts, and door openers, there will be an answer there.
And Susan, it's Karen again, and we did drop a link in the chat that actually links to our website, Smart Homes Made Simple Automatic Door Openers.
Oh, great. And things are changing all the time. So while we know what is available today, for example, I got a notification that now there are ways to identify birds who come to a bird feeder. There's a new camera that immediately identifies the bird and sends you a message. So I think that this world is evolving quickly, and the University of Pittsburgh, with their RERC, that is what they're trying to do, is make sure that some of the smart home devices that are being, developed in an explosive way are accessible to people with disabilities and their families. So again, they're one of our partners. I would encourage you to sign up, and Alexa is on their advisory committee. Next, please. So this is what we are recommending. And you will see us say this in a couple of different ways in our materials. We're focused on mainstream off-the-shelf smart home devices. We find that those mainstream devices, whether you get them from Amazon or you get them from Best Buy or Bed Bath & Beyond, wherever you go, that if they're off the shelf and not so customized, they're easier to repair, they're easier to install. What's wonderful about smart home devices, if you get the off the shelf, the customization comes with the setup. And so you're using regular devices that you can install, and then it's the setup and the training that can be customized to the individual with a disability. So our key advice is please use off-the-shelf mainstream consumer products whenever possible. By the way, they're also less expensive. Start small and build out. So as I said, many people with disabilities lag behind others in even adopting technology. So don't overwhelm people. Get, for example, a smart speaker and see how that works for someone. And when they're comfortable, go out a little bit and maybe get that door opener, the smart lock, smart bolt, the camera. We work with someone who has a camera in their closet so that they can help direct what their attendant gets out of their closet for them to wear, as opposed to kind of, well, whatever comes today, that's what I'm wearing. So start small, build out. Remember that installation, setup, and training are separate activities. So for example, if you put in a smart switch, that means whatever is connected to that switch will work as a smart switch, as opposed to just a smart plug. But the electrician who is putting in that switch may or may not be able to set up and coordinate that device on your smartphone and the actual device. So that's what I mean, that the installation and setup are different activities. And then of course, training is a different activity, helping the end user and their support people learn how to use this device. And then again, establish a support system for the end user so that if anything goes wrong, that you don't do without, that you're not abandoning this technology. That's not what it's for. So for example, if, I'm sure we're not alone in this, but every now and then our internet goes out. It's always a mystery to me. But sometimes we have to then restart our smart hub. And at first I didn't know how to do it. So I happened to ask our neighbor, who is an 11th grade, and he's a very techie guy, and that works pretty well. So just be aware that it's a good idea to be thinking of who can provide the support next. And secondly, remember to think about what it is you're trying to do, what it is that the person with a disability that you're working with, whether it is your family member, a student, your neighbor, choose your goal. Think about the goal. Is it to communicate, control your environment, meaning turning on and off lights, changing the temperature in your home, turning on a fan? Whether it's safety and security, being able to control that front door, whether to open it up, see who's at the front door, whether to put sensors on your windows. Community engagement, like you want to be able to listen to the news, or you want to know the bus schedules, or what is the weather because you're going out. Whether it's telehealth and health monitoring, which certainly we found during COVID to be very helpful, to be able to stay in your own home and connect with a health professional, to be your personal assistant, make reminders, remind me of a doctor's appointment, or that I have a work call, or tomorrow I have a test, or make a shopping list, whatever that personal assistant does. And then lastly, remote supports. And that is, to help you live safely and independently in your own home. Next, please. So here's an example. We get asked, as assistive technology, isn't this like someone else's responsibility? So what we have found is that often there are many good people who just don't realize that they can be part of the solution. So whether you're in school, and you're talking about transition age youth, so the school has a part, vocational rehabilitation has a part. Here are some ideas of how smart home technology can help people in this transition period. So you could set up a smart speaker with reminders of when to catch the bus to go to school, or do they have an internship at the end of the day or on the weekends? Listening to audiobooks. Sometimes it's just really, really hard to get as much reading done as much as possible. Most school textbooks are now on audiobooks, and certainly all of those books that you're reading for your various classes. Setting your smartwatch to help you with reminders of when to make a phone call, or take a medicine, or take your medicines, or you're beginning to feel anxious. Are you in fact? Or you can even get one that tells you to, listen to that application that tells you to take a deep breath. This is smart home technology, of course, and we'll use this example in a minute, using your smart speaker to check the weather so that you are leaving your home prepared for the day. You can also use it to lock and unlock your door, which we've talked about. Cameras in your front door. For people who have sensory disabilities, there's all kinds of smart home technology, whether it's, the flashing, you can set off the flashing detectors, whether you can get bed shakers, smoke alarms, sensors that will send alerts to your smartphone. And again, all of the environmental devices, such as your lights and your fans and your temperature controls. Next, please. So Alexa is a longtime user of technology and also of smart home. So Alexa, let me see if you can get pinned. Can you tell us how you began with smart home and some of your lessons learned?
Well, I was raised to be very independent and do as much on my own as I can. So when I went to move into my own house, like my sisters do, they live in the apartment, so I wanted to do basically the same thing. So my dad.
Well, wait just a second. Let me make sure everybody's hearing, because what you're saying is great. Alexa is very independent, if I can say so myself. She lives in her own home, and she also has 2 sisters and wants to do everything her sisters are doing, not being left behind, and being able to live as independently. Is that right?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
So my dad was looking for the way for me to control my home through my phone, because I had recently just gotten a smartphone, and he's curious about technology too, so he was looking for a way to do that.
Yes. So what Alexa's also saying is that, first of all, she's lucky because she has a dad who likes technology and is curious.
Yes.
Which is unlike our family. We're not very techie. But I think you also said something very important, that your mainstay technology is your smartphone.
Yeah.
And so what Alexa's dad was trying to do was figure out some technology that Alexa, could control through her smartphone.
Yes.
So excuse my interruptions, just go ahead, go ahead.
And so we found this electrician that has this smart home system, but it wasn't off the shelf technology like it is now. It was called URC, and it was some complicated system. So it was, but it kept going offline a lot.
So your first technology was not just off the shelf, it was more complicated.
Yes,
And so that made it difficult if it didn't work. Not everybody could just try to figure out how to fix it.
yes,
But I will say this is the advantage. I mean, this was the evolution of smart home. So what your dad was doing was when you were moving into your apartment, using what was available, and that technology took a lot more customization than the newer stuff today.
yes.
But tell us about your technology today, because I think you've swapped out most everything, right?
Yes, yes. And so what happened was my coworker at work was worried about me when she found out that I cannot access anything when I'm outside of my chair. Because how I can control my phone is through my joystick on my wheelchair. So when I don't have access to anything, and so with the Amazon Alexa, which I have renamed, obviously because that's my name.
Yeah. So
You
let me interpret for just a second. So
sorry.
I think that's a good point of what Alexa was saying is, so then she swapped out all of these devices, and one of her coworkers was concerned that everything that Alexa was doing was what she could operate through her joystick, and thinking that there's got to be more options. And so she started getting some of the Amazon products. And again, this is where you can customize it when you're setting it up. She does not call her smart speaker Alexa, since that's her name, and it would probably be going off all the time, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And so my favorite thing about the Amazon Echo is not only can I use my voice if I want to control something, but it also has a built-in feature, which means you can communicate to other rooms in the house, or even call someone with your voice.
Yes.
So that's really important, so that way if my helpers are in the background and I'm the same, I don't have to scream through the house.
I
So,
think that's really important. And I think that is also both an independence and a safety issue of being able to use the smart speaker to call someone, even if it's in another room or in another home, that the smart speaker learns Alexa's voice and responds to it and is efficient and very effective. Alexa, it turns out that I'm getting a message that we're supposed to hurry up. So can I just mention a couple of other things about what I think is different about the technology that you have?
yes, yes,
One, so Alexa's able to use her smart speaker, as she's talked about, but also control her door, who's coming and going in the camera. And I think, aren't you doing something so you can use your back door, or you're going outside that way?
to answer the other question we had, it does open the door, but it's technically a switch, so you have to say like turn on front door, because it thinks it's a switch.
Oh, because it thinks it's a switch? Well,
Yeah.
how about that? And then the other thing that Alexa cares about, and my son does not care about. So again, it's all individual uses. Alexa has smart blinds, gives her a little bit of privacy, which clearly is very important to people, both privacy, but also if it's, you know, you want to sleep beyond 6 o'clock in the morning, it's nice to be able to have a dark room. Alexa, is there anything else that we should mention before we move on?
Not that I can think of. Unless anybody has any questions, but
Please, yes. So please, since we're moving on, if you have a question for Alexa, please put it in the Q&A or in the chat, and we will be delighted to answer you, and we will forward these on to Alexa. Thank you. So moving real quickly, since it looks like we have about 16 or 17 minutes left. On the right-hand side of this picture, Alexa being on the left, by the way, with her smart blinds behind her, we have Lucy. And Lucy, which is a new name for the person who worked with us, they have an intellectual disability and they don't talk very often, and instead they use Prolo Quo to go. So in their transition plan from their school district, they use Prolo Quo to go to talk to a smart speaker with a display. And Lucy was to ask, what is the weather? And then dress appropriately going out the front door. If Lucy took the time and was patient enough to hit on Prolo Quo to go, the graphic that would ask the smart speaker, what is the weather? And then Lucy got on, whether it was a jacket, a raincoat, or nothing. Then Lucy could do what she really wanted to do, which was find out the sports score from the night before. So that was kind of the carrot. So let's go to the next slide, and we'll show you how it was put into the IEP. So in Pennsylvania, there are opportunities in various places to put in a vision statement in that IEP, whether it's even on the parent comments. So in this case, Lucy will be a tax-paying citizen. That is pretty powerful in itself. She will live independently in the community with the support she needs, and she will have meaningful relationships with family members and friends. To work towards these goals, Lucy will be an active member of her school community by being supported in regular education classes, including government and social studies, and by participating in school activities with her peers, such as in field hockey and Key Club. Next, please. And then it is written up in her IEP, Lucy, using her smart speaker at home to learn the day's weather, will arrive at school wearing or carrying appropriate outer clothing 85% of the time. The data will be recorded daily by the teacher and Lucy on a chart at school. And just to be clear, this is a real goal. And Lucy, the school paid under the rubric of assistive technology for the smart display, the smart speaker display, just as the school had paid for Prolo Quo to go on their smartphone. Next, please. So I hope that's helpful. Then for others of you, and you may find this, is that it's one thing to talk about smart home devices and the magic of smart home devices, but it's important that you know that how do you get them paid for? So we have a funding resource guide that you can also download from our website. We say, because we're from Pennsylvania, that it's funding your assistive technology resources in Pennsylvania, but in fact, most of our chapters and resources are national in scope. So we talk about what is assistive technology, how do you develop a plan, a strategy, the appeal process, and also then some of the grants that are available. So we talk in general about schools and how schools can help provide assistive technology through the IEP or 504 plans. All states have waiver programs. This is the link so you can go to your state and find waivers. Pennsylvania, and this is part of our job as an assistive technology program, we make sure that all of our waivers include assistive technology, and in fact, all but one do, including smart home. Vocation rehabilitation, there are private grants, ABLE accounts, a safe way to save, and this is the link so you can find your ABLE program. And then again, the alternative financing programs that are available in 42 of those states. Next, please. And I did see a quick question come in about Alexa. Does Alexa use her voice or an intermediary app to control the echo? We've been trialing the app Voice It. Alexa uses her own voice, right?
I use my voice, but you can also use the app.
Yes.
Either one, it doesn't, neither it doesn't both ways.
And my son also has cerebral palsy and finds that that the smart speaker learns his voice and it's easier than Voice It.
Yes, yes.
So in the last couple of minutes, I wanted to give a couple of examples of what the alternative financing program can do for you in your state, because we are charged with being an alternative to a bank. So providing financing at low cost or no cost. And in fact, our mini loan program from $100 to $7,000 at 0% interest, 0 fees, and the maximum repayment period is 48 months. And we also have a low interest loan program, which I can go into later, but you'll get copies of this slide. Next, please. So here's an example of John, who's 18, who has cerebral palsy, and he's a wheelchair user, and he wanted to purchase a smart speaker with a display and a smart thermostat. How is this assistive technology to him? He wanted to control his environment. He wanted to listen to audiobooks and the news. So he went through Amazon, and the total cost was $530, and he could, with 0% interest and 0 fees, his loan payment was $26.50 a month for just under 2 years. Next, please. And the next is Macy. And this is, again, a choice. Macy is 10 years old, and she doesn't use words to communicate. Her mom, Lindsay, was very concerned that Macy was falling behind in her schoolwork. She knew about trying to get a tablet through her IEP, but it was going to take 6 months. And so she chose to come to PATF to be able to get a loan. We were able to help her with a partial grant that we knew about. So her loan for the iPad with the bumper and the software she needed was $332, 0% interest, no fees, out less than a year for $33.20 a month. So again, this is a choice. Macy might have been able to get this technology through her IEP, but her mom did not want to wait that long. So she came to us, and this is how alternative financing programs work. Next, please. And going back real quickly to smart home devices, of why they're so important and why going with mainstream, just off the shelf, how this can make a difference in your life. Here are 4 quotes from people who've received smart home devices. The Echo makes me feel more independent and secure. I didn't expect Alexa to have personality. While I was on bed rest, she really helped offset my loneliness and depression. Sometimes I just talk to her to see what she has to say. And if any of you go on and look at YouTube and look at smart home, gray smart home, silver smart home, you will see a Saturday Night Live sketch about smart home technology and how people of all ages are using it. And really, in fact, they are very, very helpful. And then our last slide is our contact information. And I hope you will feel free to reach out to us. Karen, the next slide, please.
Yep.
There you go.
And we do have a question. I know
Okay.
we're saving time, but we might we have plenty
Please
of time.
go ahead. We have a good 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're good. So the one question, and thank you for being patient. Are there smoke alarms for sensitive hearing, especially for children with autism, so they aren't too loud?
I think there are. If you go to our funding guide, there's a couple of funding resources for people who have autism, and I would ask them. So there are foundations, we've listed a couple of them in our funding guide, foundations that support people with autism, including like with weighted blankets. And I suspect that there are, I don't personally know.
And just, I did do a little search. So again, this is Karen. There are some smoke detectors that speak instead of that blare. So you can actually, they actually will talk instead of making that big siren sound. So, and I will put that in, or we'll send that link in the, we can send that maybe in an email. Oh,
Sure.
and yes, and I actually do have a talking smoke and carbon monoxide alarm, and it is wonderful. It really is wonderful, as opposed to that blaring siren that a lot of smoke detectors have. And another question, my son has an Alexa, however, has disconnecting or acting funny. Is there a place to get it fixed?
The Alexa comes from Amazon. Amazon has a wonderful customer service line. I would ask customer service on doing this. Now, one thing I should caution you about, and we put it in our book, it just is something to remember. It's very difficult to reuse someone else's equipment because it is so ingrained on your passwords and clearing up all of those passwords. So I would call the customer service and see if they will send you a new one or whether they want you to ship it back. But I would not recommend going to the marketplace and trying to get a new one that way. I would look at sometimes, if it's not worth the hassle, looking on Prime Day or other days. There have been some amazing sales. Most recently, they were selling the Dot for $20. And the Dot, the difference between a Dot and a big tower is really about sound. And the Dot works well in our house. So don't get too frustrated, see what other alternatives are, but I would definitely call their support line. And you can find that right there on Amazon.
Okay, and that is all we have. So, but if anybody does have, oh, and she says thank you. If anybody does have a question, if you want to type it in, I think we still have a few more minutes, and then I'm going to bring in Miriam, I think, at this point.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And yes, once we closed the
good.
session,
I guess I'd like to say one thing. Johan mentions that it is true that you can get some credit by sending your old Alexa in for your new one. So I would just, don't stay frustrated with your device. Call the customer service. That's what they are all about, because they want you to buy more. So they're going to make sure that they are friendly to you, and you can ask them multiple times. The people we find who are learning more and more about smart home devices are occupational therapists. And we hope that our book and our website are helpful in getting people to understand the whole world of smart home, what it is, how there is new stuff about thread and matter, so that under matter, devices will talk to each other, whether it's from Alexa or Google. And that in some areas that don't have strong internet, some devices are no longer requiring internet or a very thin band. So good luck. And thank you, Miriam, for this.
Yes, I was gonna say that, yeah, technology is here to stay with us, and it has gone a lot cheaper with time, right? So something that 10 years ago were super expensive now are much more affordable. And yeah, I think we learned a lot about that today.
We actually, oh, interesting. Well, a follow-up to that question, again, it's Karen, whoops, was what if it was one at what if you didn't purchase it? What if it was a gift or it was one? Oh, and you said you already answered that, Susan.
The answer is yes. Amazon
Okay.
will help you.
Very good.
Okay, are there any last questions as we close out this wonderful session? I highly recommend that you visit the PATF website. Great information. And
Josie,
Oh, yeah.
can I answer one more question, which I think
yeah, I
is
didn't
really
see that.
relevant? Julie asks, I'm curious to hear how Alexa and Susan's son trained Alexa for their speech pattern. Are students with similar speech struggle to get to understand them? I think the newer machines are just better able to understand them. And if you say it over and over again, sometimes I tell Michael, say it again or be clearer. And they surprisingly pick up. Is Alexa still on? Alexa, can you answer that question?
You can ask it to your voice, and I think there's also an option in the app that says learn while you speak to it, which means the more times you speak to it, the more it learns. Because the ones I can't have, I don't speak to very often, so it has trouble understanding me. The ones I can't have, but the ones here are better.
Yeah. And some days are better than other days, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things Michael does is he turns on and off his television by himself using his voice with the Fire Stick. And then he gets very excited, like with those Eagles, and he turns the volume up really loudly. And then he has trouble lowering it because it's difficult for the Fire Stick to hear his voice again. So I think there's a lot of training involved, but it's success. And that I think you're driven towards working towards that because of your independence.
Yes. Little side story, and then we'll wrap stuff up because I think I heard Karen maybe. But it also is a fun little tool if you're parenting. So I have a foster son, and he plays fairly graphic music in the bathroom on the Alexa, but I can control the Alexa through the other Alexa, and I'll have it play Little Mermaid or something and turn the volume to 10, and he can't be loud enough to turn it off. So we'll often go through the Disney princesses while he's in the shower. So there are a lot of fun ways to use it. Follow my Facebook for more parenting tips. But yeah, thank you. And did I hear someone else speak up?
It's Karen and Josie. That's awesome. Wish I had that advice when my kids were living home. But we didn't have Alexa back then. But we do have a couple more questions. So, and I know we're running out of time. So do we want to answer them? And if individuals can hang on, then we'll do it that way. Does that
You
work
can
for you?
go
Sue?
ahead and answer. I
Okay.
have to jump off actually, but thank you guys so very much. And folks that need to jump off, we'll keep this recording going for just a few more minutes.
Okay.
And if you want the answers, then you can also watch it there. So thank you all so very much.
And you can reach out to us. There was a question about, is there a similar program in New Jersey that is comparable to PATF?
There's National Disability Institute. We're better. So we would be happy to make, give the referral, but depending on what it is you need, maybe we can help you.
Okay, and it does, Susan, it does look like you were answering those questions as, but just to say them out loud, does Alexa work with smartwatches? And Susan, your answer was?
Depends on the smartwatch, but it
Okay.
can. Yes, they can often link up completely.
Okay. And then, yes, the assessment is available in Spanish. That was a question. And then the last thing is, do you have information on national funding sources?
And we do have some. Yes, indeed.
I'm sure you can, some of you can see these, but I think that was it.
So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Really appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you, Miriam.